Invoking the divine blessings and benediction, I offer myself at the divine reverential lotus feet of our beloved omnipresent Lord, Bhagavan Shri Satya Sai Baba. Om Shri Sai Ram. Sister, don't worry, numbers don't matter. Swami is there. All the chairs are filled. Yeah, it's a privilege to be conducting and talking about Shakti, the power of women. I thank the leadership and the membership of Region 10 for giving me this opportunity. It was wonderful even yesterday. Even as you present, you feel it within you. So that's a beautiful experience in itself. So the beginning of all beginnings, there was nothingness. There was silence, there was darkness. And God then willed creation. He wanted to create. And Brother Leslie said he created himself so that he could play with himself. Yes. Godhead, supreme consciousness, absolute consciousness, whatever you call it, was referred to as it or that. There was no gender associated with it. So there was this huge, thunderous explosion of light and sound. Physicists, secular educators called it the Big Bang, the theory for the formation of the universe, and that's how all this cosmos came into existence. Whereas spiritual scientists, visionaries, sages, seers, they called it as Shakti. Shakti was associated with femininity. The reason was because it is thought that it is this Shakti that gave birth to creation and was a mother to the creation. So that's why it has a feminine connotation to it. So once the feminine separated from the supreme Godhead, obviously what's left behind is a he. That's how we got this he, she, Prakriti and Purusha, as they're called in Sanskrit. And this word Shakti actually cannot be translated into English. It has no equivalent in English. But however, loosely we can say it is the mother goddess. But if you look at the meaning, it is so broad in Sanskrit, like words like might, strength, power, ability, capability, effort. All these together form Shakti. And Swami said, next slide please. Women are Parashakti Swarupa. Next one please. Thank you. And he also said Parashakti Swarupa means eternal, supreme, absolute consciousness. And he said, if you can't say Parashakti, or you've also heard of this term, right? Adi Shakti. Adi Shakti means the first form, the primordial energy that's separated from this supreme Godhead. He said women are repositories of this embodiment of energy or Shakti Swarupa. So what is this principle of Shakti? How do we understand Shakti? Swami has said it, yes, we are Shakti Swarupa, oh, very nice and dandy, but then how? What is it? How do you understand it? How do you experience? How do you access it? That's the important part. How do you access it? So in this workshop, it's going to be a reflective, self-reflective workshop, and then we'll try to go through each of these questions, and then we'll end up at, can we manifest Shakti or can we really become Shakti? Okay? So that's what we'll do in the next few minutes. So what is Shakti? That's the first question that comes to mind, right? How do we understand this? Okay, she is separated from he. So what does that mean, actually? So I'll share a story from Adi Shankara's history. So Adi Shankara was a mystic of the 8th century. He was a Advaitin. Advaitin means non-dualism. Only, no, there is no Dvaita. It is Advaita. That's a Sanskrit term. So he was in Kashi, Banaras, Varanasi as it is called, and this is a small town with very narrow streets. And he was going to the river Ganges for his morning prayers and bath. And there was a lady sitting on the side. She had a dead body next to her, and this dead body was across the street. So as he was passing by, he talked to her, Mother, can you move this body? This lady, she looked at him in his eyes and then she told him, You say everything is Brahman. There is no second, right? Brahman is all there is. If he is all there is, then why don't you try moving this body? So, Adi Shankara, of course, he was already an enlightened soul. He knew he was not speaking to an ordinary lady. This was Shakti herself. So, this body actually, there was no vital energy left in the body, right? That's when it becomes a corpse. So, because we have this vital energy within us, the Shakti within us, we are drinking, eating, sleeping, bathing, we're doing all this. It's activating us. So that's not there in the body. So how could he move the body? He could not move the body. So that's when he begins to contemplate on that particular energy form of the cosmos. And then he extols her beauty. He has a vision of the Divine Mother. Cutting long story short, that's when he writes Saundarya Lahari, the beauty of the mother, Shakti. So Shakti is that which enlivens the absolute cosmos. It is the active and the dynamic aspect of the Supreme Godhead. And it is Shakti that helps the Godhead, the Supreme Consciousness, Absolute Consciousness, the Brahman, whatever you call it, it is Shakti that helps this Supreme Godhead to showcase and display and manifest. If there's no Shakti, then it's only Shiva. Okay? So when Shiva is projected outside, it is Shakti. When Shakti is withdrawn, it is Shiva. It is formless, attributeless. So that's what is Advaita. And then Dvaita comes because Shakti is drawn out. It is said that this Shakti, this divinity, it sleeps in matter. You have all these chairs, all these jada. They're called as jada in Sanskrit, means lifeless. So Shakti sleeps in matter. It breathes through the plants, right? We all learned carbon dioxide, oxygen transfer takes place in the plants. It moves in the animals. The dynamism is there in the animals, whereas it thinks through man. That's the highest power Shakti has within us. So we can manifest. So it means through Shakti, we can actually change our own mindset. So we'll come to that in a little bit. So you see the picture of, next slide, please. So you see the picture of that saint in black and white, and his name is Totapuri. And he was the spiritual master for Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, the mystic from West Bengal, Dakshineshwar. So he is a wandering monk along the river Ganges. Ganges is called as Hooghly in Calcutta. And he meets Ramakrishna there. Ramakrishna was about 27, 28, 1864. And of course, very radiant, effulgent face of Ramakrishna. Totapuri understands what's the potential, divine potential, the spiritual potential within this young man. So he says, can I introduce you into this technique of meditation where you become one with the entire cosmos, absolute bliss? Because till then, Ramakrishna was an ardent devotee of Mother Kali, the Shakti form. So he was focused on form meditation. So whenever he would meditate, Mother Kali would come in front of him, very attached to the form. So Totapuri says, I will introduce to you formless meditation where you become one with the absolute, supreme bliss, much higher than meditation where you have a form. Ramakrishna says, let me go ask my mother. So Totapuri says, oh, he's a young man, so he'll go ask his physical mother. But Ramakrishna actually comes and speaks to Goddess Kali, and he's able to converse with her. So that's how Naren or Vivekananda becomes his disciple. Vivekananda knocks on every single door and says, have you seen God? Have you seen God? Have you seen God? It's only Ramakrishna who gives him the answer, I have seen God and I see God just like how I see you right now. So that's when Vivekananda becomes a disciple of Ramakrishna. So when Ramakrishna goes into this temple, he converses with the mother. So there is this Totapuri here, a master, and he's saying Advaitin, and he's saying this formless meditation. Can I go into it? Then Mother Goddess says, yes, go ahead. Then he comes and then he bows down to Totapuri and says, accept me as your disciple. And then Totapuri says, yes, fine. So what took Totapuri 40 days, Ramakrishna learns in 3 days. And he goes into that formless meditation. So that is the spiritual power this man had. And as a monk, you don't stay in a place for a longer period of time because you'll get attached to it. And then you will come down in your spirituality, body consciousness. Oh, this is comfortable. This is nice. And I like this food. I like this weather. I like this climate. So they don't stay in a place. They keep wandering. Whereas Totapuri happened to stay in Dakshineshwar for 11 months. So why did he stay there for 11 months? So one day he has a stomach upset and he tries all the medication, nothing works. And then he thinks, I'm disgusted with this body because it's not listening to me. And I don't want to come down in my spirituality, get down to body consciousness, get down to the place where I get attached to the body, experience the pain. So he thinks, let me shed my body, let me drop the body. Easy, there's Hooghly flowing there, walk into her, drown the body. So that's what he thinks. So he begins to walk through the Ganges, the Hooghly, and then to his surprise, he emerges on the other shore, other bank of the river. Then he's shocked. How come Mother Ganges doesn't have enough water to drown a body, right? But then what had happened was she was lifting herself so that there was not enough water and he walked through. So that was a miracle for him. That's when he realized, oh, there is something else. There is some other power. And for the first time in his life, he enters the temple of a mother goddess. So that is the power Shakti has. And she can be worshipped in a very benevolent form like Uma, Parvati, or Lakshmi, the warrior form like Durga, or a very fierce form like Kali. And from times immemorial, Shakti has been worshipped. We all learned Indus Valley civilization. Architectural evidence proves that Mother Goddess was worshipped during those times in Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, where you have the remnants of the Indus Valley. And actually, in rural India, you also find Grama Devata. Grama Devata means the village deity. So, see, they had that concept that each community, each village is protected by the Shakti power or the Mother Goddess. So, she was worshipped for her well being and things like that. So, that is the power of Shakti. And there's a nice saying in Hindi which goes like this: Bina Shakti Shiva Shavaha. Means without Shakti, Shiva is nothing but a corpse. So that is how she enlivens everything. She moves everything. The entire cosmos is able to move because of this power of Shakti. And Swami has said, we are that power. We are Shakti Swarupa. Women are Shakti Swarupa. So this is the first thing, how we understand her. So try to feel within yourself the Shakti power, or maybe there was an incident when you really did something, you had that aha moment, not knowing that it's the Shakti from within. Maybe try to recollect that or write an affirmation for yourself. Because I said this is a self-reflective workshop, just let's take a moment to think about this, okay? Feel that power. Anybody would like to share some thoughts? Let me share. So there was this one day, my son went to UC Berkeley, about 45 minutes from my home where I was living that time. And, you get a card and you load money into that card, and that card gives you access to all the libraries and the labs, everything. The first week, he lost that card. And he lost it in the cafeteria. And then panic, right? He doesn't know where to go, what to do. And he called my daughter, who was also there in that same school. And then she says, I don't know what to do and how can I help you? You lost it there. And then he called me home. And I was doing something, panic for all of us, because we don't know how to replace that card. All I did was I just went to my altar and then prayed Gayatri. I believe a lot in Gayatri mantra. And so I chanted that. Believe it or not, within 5 to 7 minutes, he calls back and he told me that there's this man, tall African American with a crown of hair. And he came and said, I found that. What are you searching for? But then I don't have the card with me. I have given it to the police. Go to the police station and collect it. So that can be the power of Shakti. So we pray intensely. We believe in that. It can manifest and it will manifest. Anybody else would like to share anything? Say anything? Any thoughts? Yes. You want to use the mic, sister? Can you?
So when I was in the beginning learning for Reiki, um, the teacher told us, that the energy will flow and everything,
Yes.
the healing energy will be there. You just have to tap into it and all that. And that time we said yes, and we went with the flow. And then we were, as part of the training, we had to go to a camp where there were multiple sclerosis patients. And, they had lots of aches, pains, different kinds of problems. And so they said, okay, now you can start the treatment. And suddenly you're standing there like, okay, suppose I do this and nothing happens, then what happens? And then you have to just say your prayer and start the treatment. And uh, half an hour, I did the treatment, and then the person said, my aches and pains are gone.
That's great. Yeah.
And that was the first time I said, oh, wow, we have the power within us to use it if we decide to.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's really very powerful. Okay, so what is this Shakti? So we understood what the principle is, which helps everything to move and be active, so on and so forth. So what exactly is it? How does it work? So what's the technology? What's the science behind it, right? That's how we all think nowadays, everything logic, technology, science behind things. So Shakti actually permeates the entire universe and cosmos, right from the atom up to man, who is the crest jewel of creation, is permeated by Shakti. And she works through three gunas, they are called. Gunas, again, is a Sanskrit word and doesn't have an English equivalent. However, very loosely, you can say it's a form of energy, it's an attribute, it's a characteristic, a tendency, something like that. And these three gunas are called as sattva, rajas, and tamas. I'm sure you all have heard of these terms. And it's a package deal. Everything is permeated by these three gunas, and they're intertwined, interlaced with each other. And we need some amount of it for us to function and exist. But however, being the crest jewel of creation, we can also manipulate these energy forms in such a way that we increase one and decrease the other. How do we do that? We'll look into it. So let's first understand what these three are basically. So sattva is balance and stability. So, like how Krishna said, always take the middle path, be neutral, try to see that there is peace everywhere, peace and harmony. So, not getting polarized very easily, thinking equanimity, equanimous, equipoise. So, that's all the characteristics of being a sattvic person. So, when you are like that, when you're equanimous, obviously there's joy, there is happiness, there's creativity, there is openness, all this follows sattva. Then tamas is inaction and dullness. Swami said, in women, there is inaction because we are very humble, we are mellow, we tend to take a back seat, we tend to surrender easily. We put whatever we wish on the back burner. We're always serving others. We are very modest. And when these become very intense, results obviously in laziness and inertia and sluggish. And then rajas. Rajas is action and imbalance, passion, that go-getter attitude, very determined, strong-willed. So they're all very rajasic qualities. And when you don't accomplish those, what happens? Anxiety, nervousness, stress, depression. They all follow. So Swami said, Sanskrit word for woman is a stri. Stri has three syllables, sa, ta, and ra. Sattva, tamas, and then rajas. And Swami said, we have lot of sattvic content within us. He said, like in Bhagavad Gita, they said there are 7 attributes to the feminine principle: fame, wealth, speech, wisdom, intelligence, fortitude, and determination. Swami said we have 7 virtues with us: satya, prema, dharma, tyaga, sahana, tolerance, ananda, bliss, sanubhuti, spiritual empathy. So we are already front loaded with a lot of sattva. And very clearly, Swami says in a summer course, women have sattva guna in ample measure. So we can easily work on our tamas and we can work on the rajas and increase our sattvic content within us. So obviously, when you increase more of sattva, obviously you'll be able to manifest more of Shakti within you as well, right? So how do we do this? Of course, physical exercise, then keeping yourself hydrated, enough sleep, good diet, meditation, and all the sadhana spiritual tools that Swami has given, we can increase our sattvic content. And then in Dharma Vahini, Swami gave this wonderful example of how to increase the sattvic content through what we see in the temple of Shiva. I'm sure all of you have visited the temple of Shiva, where you have the lingam or the Shiva, and then you have the bull, the Vahana or the vehicle for Shiva, which is completely aligned with Shiva, right? In straight line with Shiva. So Swami gave a wonderful explanation about this. And how is the Nandi placed? It has its back to the world and it is focused on Shiva. So that's the first thing. Turn away from the world. Turn away from the materialism. That's easy, very attractive, shiny things all the way. But then turn yourself away from that. Stay focused on the Lord. And then this Nandi has its ears perked up. It's only listening to the stories of Shiva, stories of God, divinity. My grandmother used to tell me that, the way you have to have a darshan of Shiva is put your hands on both the ears and then look through so that you stay focused on the Lord. And so it is listening to the stories of Shiva. It has turned away from the world, attractions of the world. So what happens? It sheds the animal instincts. And then Nandi turns into Nandishwara. So that's the beauty, how Swami said, how you have to stay. And Nandi represents all of us, the jivas. And so that's how Swami explained how you can increase your sattvic content is staying focused on divinity. So we'll stop here for a bit, make a few resolutions so that we can increase our sattva. I know one for myself. I don't drink water enough. I better drink to take care of the physical body. Okay, we'll take a moment here. Thank you. Anybody would like to share? Any resolutions made? Okay, we'll move on. So, how do we manifest this power, Shakti? So, we understood what the Shakti principle is, and then the technology, how we can increase that. Then, how do we manifest? So, Swami said it is in her role as a mother that we can give it the highest expression. This word, mother itself, it's a very fascinating word, right? We wear many hats, but this is a big one that we all wear. The Sanskrit word for mother is matru. And this English word also kind of rhymes with this mother, starts with an M. And it has many equivalents in all the other languages, very similar sounding. And if you look at the linguistic history of this word mother, it is one of the oldest word, which would also mean it is one of the first formed words. Ma is the first syllable here. Swami beautifully in a discourse he said, Ma, if you flip, it becomes Amma. Right? And this is one of the MA becomes Amma. And this is one of the first few sounds that an infant picks up. Right? So this is a very important word. And if you look at how this word Ma is said or Amma is said, it uses the entire oral motor apparatus that we have as human beings. You start from the nabi or your core, and then you end with the labial m. Stops here, right? So it means this word contains the entire expression that we can give in the form of a language. Sanskrit, that's why it's such a beautiful language. It's called as Deva Bhasha. All right, so Swami has spoken about so many wonderful, wonderful mothers. I've just picked a few. The first one I have here is Putali Bhai, who really was so full of love and care. And then she made her son into a Mahatma Gandhi. And then Nancy Lincoln. Even I think yesterday, today's discourse, Swami was talking about Lincoln, right? He was called the Honest Abe, because he was so honest in his profession, in his political career. And then we have Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda, she mothered Krishna, this divine personality, multifaceted personality. So, what difficulty, what power she must have manifested from inside to mother this child, right? Who was Krishna? He was a prankster. He was an enchanting flute player. He was a divine dancer. He was a warrior who would kill his enemies, all the demons. And then he was a very politically very good statesman, very diplomatic, right? And above all this, he was a Mahayogi who gave us Bhagavad Gita. So what kind of a personality? What's the range of that personality where he's killing and then he's also giving you this eternal knowledge of Bhagavad Gita? So how she must have mothered, how she must be continuously transforming herself to manage and to mother such a child. And then we have Mother Teresa, who's a mother to thousands. You biologically don't have to be a mother. There is that motherly instinct within all of us. We have to just manifest. Don't we take care of plants at home? Are we not mothering them? We are so worried, right? Take out all the weeds and dead leaves. And then, if the plant is not watered and it withers, we are so worried. Immediately go and give it water. So they're all the motherly instincts within us. Don't have to be only children. Pets, we take care of pets too, right? So we can manifest that motherly instinct from within us. I'll talk about two mothers. From an Indian context, usually parents always drive their kids to be doctors, lawyers, engineers. There was Sunil Gavaskar's mother who prayed to Shirdi Baba and said that I want my son to become a world-class cricketer. Her name is Meenal Manohar Gavaskar. You can read more about her in Satyam Shivam Sundaram, Volume 5, Chapter 7. or 8, one of those chapters, not very sure. 7 or 8, one of those. So Gavaskar didn't play well in 2 matches, so he was dropped from the team. He was going as extras, standby as you call, not in the first 11 that play actually. So his mother, he did accompany the team, did not take all the accessories, all the leg guards and whatever you take. And so his mother also felt very sad and she was intensely praying to Shri Baba on that day. And so Swami comes to her in a vision and tells her in Marathi, don't worry, your son will be playing today and he'll also make a century. Century is 100 runs in cricket, which is considered very good for a young batsman. Then she listens to that voice and then she's, of course, thrilled. She's intrigued by that. And then now she really wants to test and see who is this and what's happening here. So she goes to a shop that is at the end of the street. And that shopkeeper sells pictures of gods, goddesses, holy men, so on and so forth. So she asks him, she describes Swami, orange robe and this crown of hair. Do you have the picture of such a holy man? And the shopkeeper says, no, I haven't ordered. I don't know him. So I have not ordered such a picture at all. So she comes back. She's disappointed. She's restless. Then she thinks, oh, this fellow did not see properly. So he must be having this picture in his shop. So again goes back. Then the shopkeeper is tired of her. He says, why don't you come and look if I have and pick it up? So she goes and then there is a pile of new arrivals there. So she goes through each picture. At the bottom, she sees the picture of Swami. She says, oh, this is the picture and this is what I want. And then he says, oh, I didn't order it. I don't know how it is here. And then she takes the picture. She wants to pay him. He says, no, I'm not taking it any money from you because I didn't order it. It is free and you can take it. So she brings the picture home and then puts it on her altar. The telephone rings and Gavaskar is at the other end and he says, Mom, can you bring my leg guards? I've been given a chance to bat. And because the captain, Ajit Wadekar was the captain, he was injured. So Gavaskar was asked to open the innings. And he went on to make a century. So that's how this mother instilled that faith in divinity, God-man, into Gavaskar. And he always carried a picture of Swami and Vibhuti with him. And he later on has so many instances where Swami has helped him. Just like how Leslie said, the greatest gift his mother gave him was to introduce to Swami. So it's the same thing with Gavaskar. The second story is about Gnana Prabha Ghosh. She gave birth to a young infant. His name was Mukunda. She was a great devotee of Lahiri Mahasaya, a great saint in those days. So she takes this infant and she's kind of praying internally that I want my son to be a Mahayogi and who can lead many on this spiritual path. So the master probably listens to her and then holds on to this infant and blesses him and says, yes, he will become a Mahayogi. So Mukunda is a very good child and very attached to the mother. He loves his mother, develops that very loving bond in her deep eyes. Eyes are very expressive, right? So you can feel the intensity of love in the eyes. So he loves those two black eyes of his mother because he feels the depth of love the mother has for him in those two eyes, very attached to those two eyes. Unfortunately, when he is 11, mother passes away. So this child is devastated, very frustrated. Begins his search for those two lost eyes. And that's how he prays to the mother goddess and has a vision of the cosmic mother. And Mukunda was none other than Paramhansa Yogananda. And he writes how he found those two black eyes in a poem. I'll read that to you. Seeking and seeking my dead mother, I found the deathless mother. The lost love of the earthly mother I found in my cosmic mother. Seeking and searching in her countless black eyes, I found those two lost black eyes. So that's the beauty, that's the love a mother can have for a child. And that's how we increase the content. So what happens when children have some special needs? What about those mothers? They must be working twice as hard, right? And so here is a story of Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra was a sage with 8 deformities. And he masters, his mother helps him to master all the Vedas, the Upanishads, and Brahma Sutras when he was 13 or 14. And many kings become his disciples. So that was the dedication this mother had. The last one is a picture of one of our SSC students. His name is Hari Srinivasan. He was in one of our largest centers in California, Central San Jose Center. And this child was diagnosed with autism and multiple disabilities. In his own language, he had very limited speaking, oral motor skills called as apraxia, where you cannot speak. You want to speak, you want to say something, but you cannot say it. It's there in the mind. The words are there. Everything is there, but you cannot retrieve, you cannot produce those sounds. And then he had autism, he has ADD, he had ADHD, he had movement issues, body schema issues, so on and so forth. And then his mother one day discovered that he was following a TV serial, and then she has a computer tutor for him so that he's able to type and express himself. And so that is how Hari begins to express himself. And then he goes to UC Berkeley. And now he's at Vanderbilt University doing his PhD in neuroscience. And the mother relocated, of course, from San Jose to Tennessee. So that you can manifest that energy. You have that intensity, you have that depth, you have that love, you have that goal for your child. It can be done. John in the middle was one of my students when I started teaching him. He also had a diagnosis of autism. Sister, you want to move the slides? More? Yeah, keep going, keep going. Next. Yes, thank you. So when I started teaching this child, all he would do was go up and down the wall in the classroom, open and close the doors, and then keep flushing the toilet. So that's all John would do. Both parents were doctors. And I was teaching him. I was a case manager for this kid. We started working on him. And parents, of course, because they're well educated, very driven to see that he's successful, we had so many therapies for him: occupational therapy, physical therapy, orientation, and hippotherapy, speech. Speech is crucial for these kids on the spectrum. Most of them don't speak, cannot speak. They have the receptive language. They can understand, they can comprehend whatever you're saying, but they cannot express. Expressive is not there. So all these therapies were going on for this kid. Then from elementary school to middle school, he went with a part-time one-on-one aide. And then in high school, he was completely independent. And then he finished his undergrad at UC Davis, and now he's be applying for his master's. So that is the amount of progress one can make when you have a whole team working with you with the right intensity. The story of Mother is incomplete without the story of the Divine Mother, Mother Ishwarama. October 20th, 1940, Swami said, I don't belong to you. I'm cutting my ties with you. I have a mission and I have to accomplish that mission. And I no longer want to be anywhere near you. Mother Ishwarama was devastated. Anxiety, fear, confusion, conflict, nervousness gripped her. What's this dropout from school going to do? And he's declaring that I am God. And he's telling all these people that, come to me, give me all your troubles, and then I'll solve all your problems. So what is he talking about? Gradually, as Swami's mission unfolds, she realizes that his mission is unstoppable. And then she progresses from curiosity, anxiety, conflict, and confusion. She progresses to admiration, appreciation, and adoration for Swami. There was a time when she declared and when she understood that Swami is God. And how did that happen? So one day, there was one of the residents of the ashram that did not come for the darshan. So Swami asked, where is that woman? Why did she not come for the darshan? And then they go searching for that lady in the ashram. And that lady had passed out in her own room because she was making food on the traditional Indian stove that produced a lot of carbon monoxide. So she passed out in the room. So the Swami tells all these people that it's not enough if you take care of yourself, you have to check out on your neighbors as well. So from that day, Ishwarama took this lesson to heart, and she would knock on every single door, and then she would say, how are you doing and what are you doing, and so on and so forth. So one day when she's making these rounds, she stumbles on a block of bricks and then injures her foot. She cries out, Swami, Swami. Swami comes out and then applies vibhuti and then takes care of her. But then Swami also tells her, why are you doing this? Why can't you just sit in one place? Then she tells Swami, Swami, you are God. You can sit in one place and have a vision of the entire cosmos. But then I will have to knock from door to door to find out that they are happy. So that was the day she realized that Swami is God. She gave birth to little Satya and came into the Sai Lokam. Then, working in his mission, she got closer to him, Samipyam. And then she started thinking like Swami, selflessly. She wanted a little well for drinking water, and then Swami took it upon himself and made a huge water project. She wanted a school, it became a university. She wanted a small hospital, it became a super specialty hospital. So Swami said, Ishwarama's Satya Sankalpa, truthful, very selfless wishes became Nitya Sankalpa, became the will of the God. She lost a son, she gave the world a God. Satya became Swami to her. Satya became closer to the devotees, distant to the mother. But however, she aligned to his teachings and then merged with him. May 6th, 1972. She was breathing her last, and then she said, Swami, Swami, Swami. And then he said, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. The same Satya who told that I'm cutting my ties with you, I'm no longer associated with you, but she was able to bind him with her love and with her devotion. She transformed herself completely. So that was the kind of Shakti that she could manifest. Let's take a moment here and reflect on the mother. And what else can you do? Can you move the slide? Yeah, thank you. To bring into your orbit as a mother. Let's take a minute here. Thank you. Move on to the next one. So, is mother the only hat that we wear? Swami said, women are beacons of the nation. So we can change societies, communities, cultures, nation by nation, the world. So let's look into the story of Savitri. This is a part of the Mahabharata. I'm sure you're familiar with the story. It's only that you look at these stories from a different perspective, through the perspective of Shakti and Gunas and things like that. So Savitri was a very beautiful and intellectual. She was a princess. Her father was a king of a kingdom. His name is Ashwapati. And then it's so difficult for him to find a suitable boy for her to get married because she's beautiful, she's highly intellectual, scholarly. So he tells her, go find one for yourself. Very rare in those days, right? Imagine. But however, she jumps on a chariot and then goes and visits the neighboring kingdoms, ashrams, and then she tries to find a match for herself. She comes home and then she tells him, yes, I have found one. And his name is Satyavan. He's also a prince, but in exile. And then he has his parents with him, a blind father and a mother whom he's taking care of, earns his livelihood as a woodcutter in the forest. So the father says, okay, if you're prepared to marry him. And then there is a divine intervention here. Sage Narada appears on the scene. Narada is a divine messenger. He is the son of the creator, Brahma. And so he has a vision of the entire cosmos. So Narada says, okay, looks into this, and Ashwapati shares that Satyavan, she's chosen him and she wants to get married to him. And then Narada says, not a very good proposal. The reason being, Satyavan has a lifespan of 1 year from the date on which he gets married. Okay, so his lifespan is only for 1 year. So, but then Savitri is iron-willed woman, very determined, very rajasic. So she says, no, I'm determined to marry him. So I will do so. So she marries him. And then finally 1 year passes by. And on the final day, he goes into the forest. And then she follows him into the forest. And he complains of being sick, a headache. And then he lies down for a little bit and then breathes his last. God of death, Yama, comes there to take the soul. She begins to follow him. She begins to follow this god of death. And then he tells her, God of death, Yama tells her, your time has not come, so you don't have to come with me. And she says, no, I am his dharma patni. I have to follow him wherever he goes. I am his sahadharmacharini. These are the Sanskrit words that are uttered when you get married. And so she says, that's my duty. It's my job to follow my husband wherever he goes. I have to go. Yama says, okay. And so he's very impressed with this dharmic knowledge, the knowledge she has on all these. So he says, I'll give you a boon, ask for one. So the first boon Savitri asks is, restore the eyesight of my father-in-law and his kingdom. Yama says, okay. Then continues to follow him again. He says, I have given you a boon. Now leave me alone. Let me do my job. But then Savitri says, no, not yet. And then she poses a question. She says, how come I'm able to see you? How come I'm able to converse with you? What is it that I have done? Then Yama says, just like how you want to follow your dharma and follow your husband, I follow the rules that are dictated to me by the mother god Kali. Kala is time in Sanskrit. Kali is the mother goddess that keeps time. So he says, I'm her follower. You have her grace. That's why you're able to see me. She says, oh, very nice. And then she again continues discussing with him about dharma and virtues and how women have to behave. And then Yama is again very impressed. And then he says, ask for one more boon. Then she says, bless me that I should be the mother for 100 sons. She's an intellectual, right? Very finely worded boon. How will she become a mother without Satyavan? So Yama is strict. She tricks Yama with her intellect. And then he says, now I have no option but to release Satyavan. So Yama looked at her not just as a wife, but for her intellect, for her fearfulness. Can you imagine her husband has passed away and then you have this courage, you have the bravery to face the god of death, walk with him, talk with him, and then that confidence, that self-confidence that, I can bring him back. So what did Savitri do? Savitri, she not only turned the world around for herself, but for her husband, for the king, for the kingdom, and for all the people. So, this is the power that a woman has and that a woman can manifest and make all those changes. Manifesting Shakti to becoming Shakti. So, till now, what I have said or talked about is how to manifest, how do we understand, how to bring about, how to increase, right? But then, is there a possibility? Can you become Shakti herself? So, we talk about Holy Mother Sharada. So, Mother Sharada was born in the 1850s, very recent, right? 2024, 1850, in Jairam Bhati, a village in West Bengal. She was 6 years old when she got married to Ramakrishna, who was 22 years old. Those days, that gap was very well accepted. And once they got married, both went their way. She went back to her maternal home. She had to be raised. A 6-year-old cannot run a household. And Ramakrishna went back to the temple of Kali in Dakshineshwar. He was carrying on his priestly duties. He was a priest at the temple. Then she's playing and then growing up. She attains the age of 18, and then there's a talk in the village that Ramakrishna has gone mad. He's gone crazy. Then she feels it's my duty to go and serve my husband. So she has a discussion with her father, and then she tells him, I want to go to Dakshineshwar and join my husband. So the father and the daughter make their trip to Dakshineshwar, and then Ramakrishna, very appropriately, compassionately, very kind, he accepts her. So she thinks, okay, fine. She's relieved. He's mentally and physically okay. And her father leaves her behind, and then now she's ready to take on her life with Ramakrishna. Long story short, Ramakrishna asks her, I'm deeply into spirituality, spiritual sadhanas, and you have come now. Do you want me to be on the spiritual path, or do you want me to be an householder? She's very intelligent, brilliant woman. Not educated, no degrees. But then she said, what am I to you? Who am I? How do you visualize me? Then he says, you are a version of the mother goddess. Then she says, I have my answer for you now. You be on your spiritual path. Both of them, though married, live in 2 different quarters. She still fulfills all her duties as a wife. She cooks for him, does everything. So one day she makes food, and then the meals is all ready, and there's a young devotee that comes and says, can I take the food to the master? Ma Sharada agrees. She says, yes, you can. And then young lady takes the food to the master, and then he accepts the food. Then later on talks to Ma Sharada and says, why did you let that young woman bring the food to me? You should be the one that should be carrying the meal's plate. And then she says, yes, I apologize. Okay, I'll do it from tomorrow. But then I have a question for you. What's the difference between me and her? She's another version of the mother goddess, right? So that was the kind of spiritual working relationship this husband and wife had. So both of them looked at each other very differently. So Mother, Ma Sharada, looked at Ramakrishna as a god, as a spiritual master, and a husband. And she looked at him, he looked at her as a goddess, as the first disciple, and then as a wife. He passes away 1886, and so the whole responsibility comes on her, Ma Sharada. Now the monastery was getting constructed in Dakshineshwar, so the construction work, then the order of Ramakrishna under the leadership of Vivekananda, Ramakrishna order we have, right, the missions, and that was taking place. So she had to manage all this. All his disciples now became her disciples. So she had a lot on her plate with a very difficult family to deal with. Her brother and her niece were extremely greedy, and they troubled her to the core. And so she had all these to deal with. So there were some disciples that were helping her, and one of them was a manager, kind of acting like an office manager for her. And so he's fed up with all these kinds of troubles, and it is very difficult to carry out the job. And so he says, Mother, I want to quit. She says, yeah, sure, you can quit. So he bows down to touch her feet. He touches her feet, and then gradually, as he kneels and looks at her face, it is no longer Ma Sharada that he sees, but he sees Mother Kali. So that is one. Then he, of course, begins to cry and then withdraws. And then he says, no, 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 I will definitely help you. And then I apologize even for bringing this to you that I want to quit. So she was able to manifest. Unlike Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, she would always veil her spirituality, veil her divinity. She never claimed to be a guru or a goddess, nothing, but she was a great power from within. Another instance, there's so many such instances where people visualized her as Shakti, the mother form, and not the physical Ma Sharada. So there's this young monk, towards the end of her life, she had arthritis, and so he was massaging her legs. Lot of wrinkles on her legs. And so this young monk, as he's massaging, he's thinking, oh, she's getting old, so many wrinkles on her legs. Even as this thought comes to him, the wrinkles begin to vanish. And as he shifts his gaze from the legs to the face, he no longer sees Ma Sharada, but the mother goddess reclining. So that is how she was able to manifest 100% that Shakti form. So that's why Swami said, we are Shakti Swarupas. Can we make it happen? Yes, we can. We heard that from Sister Ramadevi today, that type of medical camps and how she was able to manifest all the divinity from within, the Shakti power from within. I'm going to stop here. Thank you all so much for listening. Before I close, I see some brothers here, and I have one sentence for them. Even Brother Leslie said yesterday, just because you wear pant and shirt, you're not a man. Everybody is a woman, Swami said. There's only one man, and that is the Supreme Godhead, because we are all parts of this Prakriti or Mother Nature. Sairam, everybody. Thank you all for listening.